Hey guys, welcome back to Provo Beast audio installation for part 2 of this 1966 Cadillac DeVille build. We're just doing a refresh on this, new wiring. We're keeping a lot of the same components like our amplifiers, but we are replacing the front speakers and radio as well. In the last video, you saw us pull all the old wiring out, give it a nice clean and vacuum, and at this point in this video, we're going to start running our new wiring. Now here up underneath the hood, we're going to go ahead and start prepping our fuse holder and our battery terminals just so the car is drivable as we kind of work on this car when we have the time for it. Okay, so we have our Rockford Fosgate new battery terminals here. We're going to upgrade from these guys here. This is going to give us a really good starting place so we can do our 1-aught and starter wire 4-gauge that powers the rest of the vehicle, as well as our charging cable. Now we're not going to run this charging cable directly to the battery per se. We're going to run it to our SMD distribution. That's going to be up here, but we'll show you that a little bit later on. For now, we're going to go ahead and get our terminals mounted and start with that. Okay, so we got our new terminals on, good to go. We'll put this negative on as soon as we're ready to get the negative on. But for now, we got rid of the old style terminals. This allows us now a 1-aught that'll go to our SMD fuse terminal. That's where also we will do our big 3 upgrade. This also provides us here on the negative side 1-aught for a hefty ground to the frame of the Cadillac. At this point, what we need to do is just really start running wire. All right, so I started running wire here. Now we have OFC 1-aught and OFC 4-gauge by New Concepts. But for now, we're gonna figure out a place kind of around here to do a SMD fuse block. But for now, went through there, through grommets, through grommets there. We need to still put in our ground up and around the 1-aught, but just pull the carpet back here. Ran our 2 wires right along the carpet. Came up here, up underneath the convertible top, and comes up there. So here we are in the trunk. Plenty of wire, and we're going to use a lot of this extra wire that we have here for our big 3. That gives us plenty of space and wiring to figure out how we want to mount our amplifiers here on the rack. Now the next thing, we'll need to start running our remote turn on, and we're going to also run some speaker wire and just kind of start prepping that side of the build. All right, so with the radio out, I started running a remote turn on wire on the power wire all the way down. You can see it comes out there, heads on up, and that's where everything comes out. So we got our 1-aught and our 4-gauge and remote turn on wire. At this point, let's go ahead and start running our speaker wire on the other side all the way up. Now we have to run 2 lines to the front and 2 lines right to the back. So we'll do 4 channels total. Okay, so we ran our RCAs, and we're gonna go along this dash support. We'll zip tie it and loom it and everything. Then we came down here with our RCAs here and our speaker wire. And this is where our other kick pod's gonna be. So I left some wire here, and this is where he had his bass knob previously. We'll attach it nice and tight, but we'll just probably keep it there in that location. But we'll leave those ends there. Now what I've done here is I've taped this every couple of feet. So we have both our front speaker wires and our RCAs all together. We'll run along the bass knob. I didn't pull the bass knob out because it needed to stay in the car anyways, but we'll run it along the carpet and then under the seat up, just kind of like how we did the power wire, but we'll do it on this side, RCAs and speaker wire. And then here in the back seat, in the center of the seat, there's two 4x6s. What we're gonna do with those is wire those up, but we'll run those separately to the back as well. So really at this point, it's just tucking the wire up underneath the carpet and running it to the trunk. All right, so new day, just moving on to the next portion of this install. We finished in our last segment pulling wiring. We got our speaker wire and our RCAs, bass knob wire coming down on the driver's side. We got our power and remote wire coming on the passenger side. We got our amp board in there, and that's looking so good. Fits in there really nice. Got everything mounted, and that's gonna really allow us to hide wire, keep everything nice and clean and tidy towards the back of the trunk, providing a ton more space here in the trunk, and we're super excited for that. So at this point, we've kind of finished up this area. Before we start hooking things up, we still need to do grounds back here. But once we get grounds taken care of, we can wire up the amp rack and really be done here in the trunk. We still need to do the radio, speakers in the kick pods, and work on our wiring up underneath the hood. So we got all our wire pulled at this point. Now we need to mount our distribution fuse block combination. So we're doing this SMD distribution block, and we're gonna build a mount so it sits right down in here. And we're gonna go this direction. We can flip the logo around. It's gonna sit right there. We'll build the mount out of ABS plastic, and we can bolt it up to that bolt so it's nice and secure. But on this end here, it's a bus bar, and we're gonna go from our alternator to one end of the bus bar, and we'll go from our battery to the other end of the bus bar, and then we'll have two separate fuse lines. One will go to our 1-on, and one will go to our 4-gauge down through the firewall. So we're gonna get this mounted. We need to build this mount out of ABS plastic. We're gonna make a template out of cardboard first. So let's head over to the bench and start mocking up a template. Okay, so we got a fuse holder nice and mounted there to that bolt. It's on this little ABS plastic platform, nice and sturdy, and it'll be even more sturdy as we hook up wiring to it. Now remember, we're gonna do a run to alternator, run to the battery, and then our 2 runs will go to the trunk. So we got our ground in through a grommet right here. This is for 1500 watt amp. And then we have our 400 watt amp, which is the 4 gauge over here. We put the 4 gauge through a grommet to the frame. Same thing with the 1-aught. Everything's right to the frame, nice and bolted up. And that'll supply power and ground to our amplifiers here. We have our remote terminal wire coming in, and also our speaker wire, RCAs and bass knob all ready to go. So really at this point, we can jump here into the trunk itself and start wiring our amplifiers. Now jumping back up front, underneath the hood here, we went ahead and finished wiring up our bus bar distribution block. That'll be also our fuse holder here. We have lead coming off, going to our bus bar, and also going into our positive of our battery here. So that's gonna charge our battery nicely. It's also gonna supply great current for our amplifiers in the back. And then we'll fuse each one individually. And those obviously go all the way back to the trunk. So those are done. Now we also did a ground. We grounded off this alternator bracket here. And this goes down to the frame. And we also did one here off our distribution terminals. That also goes down to the frame. So that's where the battery and the alternator or engine ground will be together, is right there on the frame rail. And we'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. So really this is done underneath the hood, besides hooking up the negative and putting the fuses in. But we're done with power and ground with our Donna Cadillac. So up underneath here, there is our grounds, all done for our battery and our alternator. For the amplifier grounds, there's our 1-aught ground to the frame. I just painted it just to prevent corrosion. And the 4 gauge ground for the 4 channel is on the other side, just identical to this. All right, got our amps all mounted, everything wired up here. There's our 4 gauge and our grounds, RCAs, speaker wire output. We have our bass amp here with our 1-aught, RCAs, bass knob, cable. We still need to hook up our speaker wire. That'll go to the box of the sub. But other than that, this is about ready to be drilled and mounted in its final position. All right, all cleaned up. Got our speaker wires out for the subs. Everything's all buttoned up. Came out nice and clean. Much of an upgrade from before. Got everything vacuumed. Once I'm totally set on everything, I'm gonna go ahead and tack down our mounting bolts. That's about it. Take a look under the hood of what we accomplished there. Here's our battery. Once we're all good to go, we'll put the negative back on. Fuses are all in. Everything's wired. And that's about it. This actually turned out super clean. I like how this turned out. It's nice and solid. It's not going anywhere. Big upgrade. On our next video, what we're going to be showing you is the radio install, the kick pods, and we're going to finish wiring up the rear speakers. We're gonna do 6.5s down in the kick pods, and then we'll do some tweeters in the factory location up there on the top of the dash pad. They'll actually mount up underneath to these bolts, which will be super nice. Well, that's about it for this install video here today. We'll check out part 3. We'll post that link in the description as soon as that video becomes available. In that video, we're gonna be doing the radio and speakers. That's about it for this video today. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe. We post great content all the time. And post a comment below if you've had a classic car and put a sweet system in it. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you in the next video.